very welcome back. From millionaires paying for blood transfusions to people changing diets to slow ageing, the health trend of biohacking is booming, with Google searches up 394% in the last decade.
Well, joining us now to explain is Professor Roseanne Kenny, Chair of Gerontology at Trinity College Dublin. Good morning to you, Roseanne.
Morning.
Like Shiva just said, there's such momentum behind biohacking at the moment. So break it down for us, for those who may not be totally familiar with it.
I'll explain what biohacking is. So biohacking is the ability that we now have to actually look beyond the number of candles on your birthday cake as a marker of your age, to actually get deeper under the hood of that and to see what's going on in cells, what's actually going on in cells, how much of the experience of aging has influenced your cell biologically. And there's a whole lot of different things that we can hack into in the cell to give us those measures.
Okay. Wow. So we each have a biological age. So how would that be determined? Like, can you do a test to find out your biological age?
So this is what biohacking helps us do. There's lots of different tests that you can have done. Some of them you'll be familiar with, even telling us what our sugar status is like, glucose in the circulation, even understanding cholesterol, etc., our blood pressure. They're all biomarkers of aging that there's a lot of evidence around. But we can actually go deeper than that now and use blood samples to actually look at the cells itself. What our cells do is produce energy. And there are a whole lot of little channels to make that possible, that at the end product is energy. We can actually hack into each of the different processes that eventually produce energy and see how well are they all functioning, and is there a deficiency in any of those. And then there are a number of different studies now which have looked at, right, so if we biohack into the cells, can we pull together a number of those elements to give us our biological clock? So there are a host of different clocks out there now that can be used. You can send blood tests online to have your biological clock measured. And that's kind of a composite of all of these different ways of hacking into the cell to give you an overview of your biological clock as opposed to your chronological clock, which is the number of candles you've got.
What? That's so, because women associate biological clock with their ability to have children, but there's so much more to it. That's really interesting. Roseanne, one man I think who's responsible for really pushing biohacking into the mainstream is Brian Johnson. His Netflix documentary really blew up. What he has done, he says, is that at 47, he says his biological age is 10. His methods for biohacking include 50 vitamins a day. He monitors his heart rate, his brain waves. He's even been getting blood transfusions from his teenage son. What is it? He only eats between 4 and 11 a.m.
Yeah, 4 a.m. and 11 a.m.
He uses a special light in the morning to regulate his circadian rhythm. What do you make of his methods, and are they effective? The pregnant pause says it all.
Well, I mean, what do you want out of your life? Okay? So, they work, right? Now, the biological age of a 10-year-old, I've got queries around that, because actually our biological aging starts as soon as we're born. And we accumulate biological aging. We can slow down the process, certainly, but to completely reverse it right back then, if he keeps going, he'll be in nappies. You know, I mean,
Benjamin Button.
So it doesn't chime. And the measures that we use for biohacking aren't quite that accurate yet. We get 2, 5, maybe 10-year differences, yes. You can see that, certainly. And actually, you can see the differences very early on. If you biohack, we know that there are changes at, on average, 34. So it isn't a linear relationship between my candles and my biological aging. It's like that, and then at 34 it does that, and then late 40s, early 50s, it does that again. So there seems to be an accelerated pace at those particular periods of time. That's important to know, because there are particular periods of time you need to watch the things.
What can you do then if you want to try and help yourself at those
One
ages?
of the fastest triggers for aging is stress.
Is it?
Yes, it is. So de-stressing is very important. So methods to chill matter in terms of aging. And why would that be? Why would it be stress? Because actually psychological stress stresses the cell. And when we biohack into those cells, we know that it accelerates inflammation. It makes the cells more inflamed. And that hurries up the aging process. So stress is one. And if you manage stress, it'll help. for those particular periods of time. People think I've done a book, Age Proof, and it's done very well. But people say to me, "Oh, I gave your book to my mother," and I'm looking at this person thinking, "No, you're 50. Why you should have read it?" Yes. Yeah. And it's for we need to start thinking about this in our 30s.
And there's people like these tech entrepreneurs, Brian Johnson. Now, they have wealth and access to things. But if you aren't a multi-million tech entrepreneur,
of course,
what are the kind of things that we can do? Like, what about our diet? Does that affect our aging?
Really important.
Okay.
And actually, there's a very nice randomised controlled trial out just in the last couple of weeks from the University of Washington, which has looked at this. The big issues, the big factors that seem to be able to change when they biohacked into people who had this diet and didn't were polyphenol-related products like green tea, like oolong tea, turmeric, cumin, etc. And then the liver, unfortunately, there was quite a lot of liver in the control limb. I'm saying unfortunately because I absolutely find liver very difficult to take. Eggs, and then the rest is the Mediterranean diet. Lots of nuts, seeds, fresh fruit, fresh vegetables. Now, the criticism behind that is that's all very well, but it's very expensive. But you've asked me the question. Diet is incredibly important at all stages in life to do that.
And remember you said, so 34, we have an acceleration of age, and there's other points as well. Is it different for men or women?
So then, of course, the menopause kicks in. Women age faster than men, but we're now, there's definitely sex differences, no question about that. Okay. But we actually think a part of that is, in fact, related to the fact that they don't take as much physical exercise. We haven't talked about that. That's hugely important. So men have starting more muscle mass. It's easier for them to gain muscle mass, muscle strength. And women aren't as inclined to continue to nurture muscles. So right throughout the lifespan, but particularly for that middle blip in the late 40s, early 50s, resistance exercises are really important.
So lifting weights?
Lifting weights. So not just to do, aerobic exercises, fast walking, running, rowing, whatever your gig is, but resistance exercises. And then in 60s and 70s, a lot of balance exercises as well, which is why Pilates is so good. It builds core, that builds balance. So diet, that we've discussed, de-stressing rituals and exercise, even if you got those three things right. Now, the next one that is terribly important because it actually triggers stress is social isolation and loneliness. And this is important for all age groups and it has become very common, unfortunately.
It's important for teenagers and older people as well.
And of course, it triggers mental health issues, mood changes, etc. We were born to be gregarious. We are gregarious animals.
We're pack animals.
We need people. And interesting about Brian Johnson, I did watch his Netflix series. I thought he looked terrible. If you
so did I. We were saying, like, a Mediterranean diet, he just needs a holiday to Italy, I think. Get out of his chambers and all,
Almost looked like a corpse. Yeah. But anyway, that's not for minuting. But the point is that I noticed then during it that he kind of he had a light bulb moment and said, I need friends. I've no social engagement friends. His whole day was focused on himself. So then he had to create a cohort of friends. I don't know if you remember that. He went out, he started this walking group, this hiking group that they do once a week, and they're his friends.
Nice. Rosanna, I have a million more questions and I want to talk to you all day long, but we have run out of time. Your book is called Age Proof, though, and you delve into that, obviously, in greater detail for anyone who's interested. Professor Roseanne Kenny, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
You're welcome.
Fascinating. As always, folks, make sure you check in with a medical professional if you're looking to make any lifestyle changes for your health.
Lots more to come on RNDM. We'll see you back here in a few minutes.